Welcome to the Spirit of Mayberry, brought to you by Research Chief Spirit Walker from an undisclosed location deep within the bowels of the Andy Griffith Show Research Laboratory.
Before we begin, I want to encourage you to go over to mayberrybooks.com and buy some of Randy Turner's excellent books on the Andy Griffith Show. He has all of his books on there. He has flip calendars, and he has all kinds of stuff that have to do with the Andy Griffith Show, including my book, The Mayberry Rerun Watcher's Guide to Season 1. Tells you everything you ever wanted to know and more about Season 1 of the Andy Griffith Show. Book 2 will be out this year, or next year, I should say. You can also join the Ambassadors Club. Get these nifty magazines once a quarter that update you on the current Andy Griffith Show community, and all of the different articles in here are written by experts in the field of the Andy Griffith Show. Keep up to date on what's going on with the show. Also, I want to encourage you to go over to weaversdepartmentstore.com. Pick up some excellent books over there. They have all kinds of books. They have books by famous authors like Karen Knott's Tied Up in Knots book about her father. That's not it, but this is another book you can buy there. And you can also buy Ron and Clint Howard's latest book, The Boys. I want to encourage you, just patronize these people because they support the Mayberry spirit. Also go to imayberry.com and join the iMayberry community. You would be surprised how many like-minded people there are that love the Andy Griffith Show just like you do, to help you keep spreading that Mayberry spirit. Today is Monday, November 14th, 2022. And on Monday, November 14th, 1960, the 7th episode of the Andy Griffith Show debuted, entitled Andy the Matchmaker. In that episode, Andy made a match with Barney for his first love interest on the show. I entitled my episode Andy the Pathmaker because in this episode I want to tell you about certain individuals, adult actors, who were on the path to stardom when they crossed through Mayberry. Andy put them on the path to stardom. Now, last episode I talked about the kid actors. This episode I want to talk about the adult actors. Now I'm going to exclude Andy himself, Andy Griffith, and Don Knotts, because we pretty much know that they went on to stardom and leapt off the Andy Griffith Show into different avenues of television and movies. But I want to talk about some of the others. Now there's a lot of them, so I have to kind of pare it down a little bit for this episode. I generally have a problem with IMDb's accuracy, imdb.com. In working on my second book, I found quite a few errors in their reporting, but I just happened to look and see what the best loved shows were listed on IMDb for the 1960s. And then I just narrowed it down to the top 10 on their list. And out of the top 10 on IMDb's list of the best shows of the 1960s, Andy Griffith Show was number 1, followed by 7 other Andy Griffith Shows, not spinoffs, even though one of them is a spinoff. The others were just actors who passed through the Andy Griffith Show to get to those shows and become the stars of those shows. So the Andy Griffith Show influenced 7 of the other top 8 or top 10. So there were 8 out of the 10 that were associated with the Andy Griffith Show. And I'm going to go through some of the actors that we've seen on the Andy Griffith Show and the shows that they went on to be stars of on CBS and other networks. So let's start with the number 2 best loved show of the 1960s, and that was the Beverly Hillbillies. The Beverly Hillbillies was number 2, right under the Andy Griffith Show. It debuted in 1962 on CBS and ran for 9 seasons. Now, the person I want to concentrate on is the star of that show, who played Jed Clampett himself, the hillbilly who struck oil and moved to Beverly Hills with his family, and he was played by Buddy Ebsen. Buddy Ebsen made his appearance in the Andy Griffith Show as David Brown with an E, and he played basically a hobo drifter. And he appeared in the episode Opie's Hobo Friend in season 2. He not only stopped, he didn't just stop there at being the head clampet of the Beverly Hillbillies. He went on to have his own show again in 1973 when he played the title character in the show Barnaby Jones. I started to say episode for some reason. In the show Barnaby Jones, he played Barnaby Jones, and he ran for 8 seasons on CBS. But Jed Clampett also was a crossover because he also appeared as Jed Clampett in episodes of Petticoat Junction. Petticoat Junction, which is number 9 on the list, by the way, debuted in 1963 on CBS and ran for 7 seasons. But another Tags actor had a very lead role in Petticoat Junction, and that was Edgar Buchanan. He played Henry Weaver in Aunt Bee's brief encounter in season 2. He was Uncle Joe Carson. You know Uncle Joe, he's moving mighty slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction, that is. Also introduced on Petticoat Junction was a character named Sam Drucker. Sam Drucker ran the store, the general store there in Hooterville. He also had the post office, and it was like a combination of every facility that they needed was right there in Sam Drucker's store. He was played by Frank Cady, who made an appearance as Luke in The Rehabilitation of Otis in season 5, and he also was Farley Upchurch in The Legend of Barney Fife in season 6. He went through Mayberry on his path to being on a major show as a regular. But also Jed Clampett, Edgar Buchanan as Uncle Joe, and Sam Drucker, Frank Cady, all appeared on another show, which was number 8 on the list of best shows of 1960s, and that was Green Acres. Green Acres was number 8. It debuted in 1965 on CBS and ran for 6 seasons. But it introduced another one of the Tags actors, and that was Hank Patterson. Hank Patterson played a hobo that Barney chased off the railroad tracks after he found the briefcase full of money. It was the episode If I Had $1 Million in season 5, and he played Fred Ziffel, the owner of Arnold the Pig, in Green Acres. Let's continue on in 1963. 1963, The Patty Duke Show premiered on ABC and ran for 3 seasons. The Patty Duke Show was about identical cousins, both played by Patty Duke. She played dual roles. And her father, who was in every episode except one of The Patty Duke Show, was played by William Shallert. William Shallert also played the mysterious Sam Becker in the Quiet Sam episode in season 1. He played Martin Lane, Patty's father, in The Patty Duke Show. Also in 1963, My Favorite Martian premiered on CBS and ran for 3 seasons. The star of My Favorite Martian, the man who found the Martian and befriended the Martian and got in all kind of trouble with the Martian, was Bill Bixby. Now, Bill Bixby played Ronald Bailey in Bailey's Bad Boy in season 2, but he played Tim O'Hara in My Favorite Martian. He also went on in 1969 to another series that he starred in, was The Courtship of Eddie's Father, which premiered on ABC and ran for 3 seasons. He played Tom Corbett, Eddie's father, in that show. Then he went on in 1973 to become a magician turned crime fighter in his spare time in an episode or in a series called The Magician. He was Anthony Blake. It ran for only 1 season, but his biggest hit that he ever fronted was The Incredible Hulk, which came out in 1977 on CBS and ran for 5 seasons. Bill Bixby in that series played David Banner, Dr. David Banner. Now, before you start writing me comments about it's not David Banner, it's Bruce Banner. No, it was Bruce Banner in the comic strips or in the comic books, but it was David Banner on television. They changed his first name to David. In 1964, the number 6 show on the list of the best shows of the 1960s debuted, and that was on ABC. It ran for 2 seasons, and it was called The Addams Family. The Addams Family had a kooky bunch of monster-like family members, and Gomez and Morticia, but they had a crazy uncle named Fester. The person that played Uncle Fester was Jackie Coogan. Jackie Coogan also played George Stevens, the con man who tried to con Barney into marrying Melissa Stevens, supposedly his daughter, but in actuality his wife. And they just wanted to sue Barney for breach of promise. That was in the Barney on the Rebound episode in season 2. Jackie Coogan. Now, the number 7 on the list is the spinoff of the Andy Griffith Show, Gomer Pyle USMC. Debuted in 1964 on CBS and ran for 5 seasons. Pretty good run. Of course, Jim Nabors played Gomer Pyle on Andy Griffith Show and in Gomer Pyle USMC. Frank Sutton played Sergeant Vince Carter in both the Andy Griffith Show and also in Gomer Pyle USMC. Another actor that played a prominent role in Gomer Pyle appeared as 8 different characters in 8 seasons, or in seasons 2 through 8 of the Andy Griffith Show. His name is Alan Melvin. Alan Melvin was a character actor, and then he would later go on to be a major player as Sergeant Charlie Hacker on Gomer Pyle USMC. He would also go on and play in Sam. I think his name was Sam. Yeah, Sam Alice's boyfriend in the Brady Bunch. Also, another actor who played 2 different characters in seasons 6 and 8 of the Andy Griffith Show was Ronnie Shell. Ronnie Shell went on to play Duke Slater, who was one of Gomer's very best friends in Gomer Pyle USMC. Also in 1964 was the number 10 best loved show, or best show of 1960s, and that was Gilligan's Island. Gilligan's Island debuted on CBS and ran for 3 seasons. Of course, Gilligan himself was played by Bob Denver. Bob Denver made 1 appearance on the Andy Griffith Show as Dud Wash in Divorce Mountain Style in season 4. And the reason that he did, Hulk Howell was taken out of that part and Bob Denver was put in, was because Gilligan's Island had already been cast and he was cast as the lead, but he had no television exposure. And so they wanted to get him some television exposure. So what better way to do it than to put him on a top-rated show, the Andy Griffith Show. And so that's why he appeared in that spot. But before he appeared, his skipper appeared, played by Alan Hale Jr. He appeared as Jeff Pruitt in the Farmer Takes a Wife episode in season 2. In 1965, the very next year, Hogan's Heroes debuted on CBS and ran for 6 seasons. One of the major characters in the POW camp there at Stalag 13, which by the way was also shot on the 40 Acres backlot where the Griffith Show was filmed. But one of the main POWs there was Sergeant Carter, not Vince Carter, but Sergeant Carter, who was a POW in Stalag 13, played by Larry Hovis. Larry Hovis played Gilly Walker in 2 episodes in season 5 of the Andy Griffith Show. You might remember him in Goober Takes a Car Apart. He was very instrumental in that episode. In 1965 also, in fact, 1 day after Hogan's Heroes debuted, another Tags alum started the show on NBC, which ran for 5 seasons. It was I Dream of Jeannie. I Dream of Jeannie, of course. Jeannie was played by the lovely Barbara Eden, who appeared as Ellen Brown, the manicurist, in the episode by that title of season 2. My Mother the Car also debuted in 1965. Um, My Mother the Car was a flop as a TV series and has been mostly talked about as one of the worst TV series ever. The star of My Mother the Car for that one season, and it didn't even run a complete season before it was canceled, turned down the opportunity to be the replacement for Don Knotts on the Andy Griffith Show. He appeared in one episode of the Andy Griffith Show. He appeared as Jerry Miller in The Banjo Playing Deputy in season 5. He played Dave Crabtree, the owner of a car the owner of a car who was the reincarnation of his mother. It was a terrible premise. But Jerry Van Dyke turned down an opportunity to become the replacement deputy for Barney Fife. And it's because he wanted not to be part of an ensemble, he wanted to be the star of a show. And they offered him My Mother the Car. He jumped at it. He took it. It didn't even last a season. However, he didn't stop there. He had been his older brother Dick Van Dyke's sidekick for a while on the Dick Van Dyke Show. So he became a different sidekick in 1989 when ABC premiered Coach. It ran for 9 seasons with Jerry Van Dyke playing the assistant coach, Luther Van Dam. So he went on to better things. In 1965, NBC premiered Please Don't Eat the Daisies, and it ran for 2 seasons. The star of that show was Mark Miller, who played Bob Rogers in Barney's Replacement in season 2, and he played Jim Nash on Please Don't Eat the Daisies. In 1967, NBC premiered Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, a comedy variety show that ran for 6 seasons. One of the regulars on that show was Artie Johnson, who played a hotel clerk in Andy and Barney in the Big City in season 2, and he was a series regular playing different kinds of characters, but always there in Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. In 1968, Adam 12 debuted on NBC. It ran for 7 seasons. Now, Kent McCord played Officer Jim Reed, one of the 2 major stars of the show. He also can be seen in the Andy Griffith Show, but he was never credited. But you can see him leaning against the wall in the judo dojo where Barney trained. He went on to be a police officer. Maybe he threw some judo on those guys. Now, the next show I want to talk about was not really a spin-off of the Andy Griffith Show. It was actually a continuation of the Andy Griffith Show with a different person in charge other than Andy Taylor. Sam Jones, a city councilman, became the head star of Mayberry RFD, which premiered in 1968 on CBS, and it ran for 3 seasons. Now, Ken Berry, who played Sam Jones in the Andy Griffith Show and Mayberry RFD because they introduced a character in the Andy Griffith Show. But several crossover Andy Griffith Show major players crossed over to Mayberry RFD. George Lindsay, still playing Goober Pyle. Jack Dodson, still playing Howard Sprague. Paul Hartman, still playing Emmett Clark. Mary Lansing, still playing his wife, Martha Clark. Arlene Galanka, still playing Millie Swanson, but this time she was Sam Jones's girlfriend instead of Howard's. And Frances Bavier, who played Aunt Bee in both series. In 1970, CBS premiered The Mary Tyler Moore Show, which ran for 7 seasons. One of the major players in the newsroom where Mary worked was the news writer, Gavin MacLeod. Gavin MacLeod played 2 different characters, one in season 5 and one in season 6 on the Andy Griffith Show and played Murray Slaughter on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. But Gavin MacLeod also would go on in 1977 to captain the Love Boat on ABC, and it ran for 10 seasons. Gavin MacLeod played Captain Merrill Stubing on the Love Boat. In 1971, for 9 seasons, All in the Family ran on CBS. All in the Family starred Archie Bunker, of course, Carol O'Connor, but it would have been nothing without a, a, a foil for him, and that was his son-in-law, not brother-in-law, son-in-law, Michael Stivic, who Archie referred to as Meathead. He was played by Rob Reiner, who also played Joe, an assistant printer's assistant in Goober's Contest in season 7. In 1972, Kung Fu premiered. Kung Fu is just a funny word, isn't it? Kung Fu premiered on ABC and ran for 3 seasons. Now, of course, Kwai Chang Caine was played by David Carradine, but the man that put Kwai Chang Caine on his trip into America through the Old West was the Blind Master Po. And Blind Master Po was played by Key Luke. Key Luke was Charlie Lee, Aunt Bee's partner in Aunt Bee's restaurant, season 7. And when you can grab the pebble from my hand, it will be time for you to go. In 1972, also, MASH premiered on CBS. It ran for 11 seasons, way longer than the Korean War actually ran. And 2 Andy Griffith Show stars were major players in MASH. First of all, William Christopher, who played an IRS agent in season 6, and the New Doctor in season 7 of the Andy Griffith Show, became Father Francis Mulcahy on MASH. And also, the actor who played the Gypsy Grecos in the Gypsies episode of season 6, Jamie Farr, would go on to be Corporal Maxwell Q. Klinger. In 1976, CPO Sharkey appeared on NBC and ran for 2 seasons. The star of that show as Chief Petty Officer Otto, I started to say Otis, Otto Sharkey, was Don Rickles. Don Rickles played Newton Monroe in The Luck of Newton Monroe episode in season 5. And Don Rickles, of course, would go on to become a major player in stand-up comedy, making a fortune in Las Vegas. I guarantee you, Don Rickles really made it big. On September 18th, 1978, on CBS, WKRP in Cincinnati debuted and ran for 4 seasons. One of the major stars in that radio show series was Howard Hessman. Now, when Howard Hessman was on the Andy Griffith Show, he was billed as Don Sturdy, but he played 2 different characters in 2 different episodes of season 8. On WKRP in Cincinnati, who can forget Dr. Johnny Fever? That was Howard Hessman. And the last TV show I want to mention debuted in 1979, and it was called The Dukes of Hazzard. It ran for 7 seasons on CBS. And of course, we all know, anybody familiar with the Andy Griffith Show knows, Briscoe Darling was Uncle Jesse on The Dukes of Hazzard. And Briscoe Darling was played by Denver Pyle in 6 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. But also, his foil was Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, right? Played by James Best. That was a terrible impression. My apologies to Alan Newsom, who does it so much better. James Best was also Jim Lindsay in 2 episodes of season 1 of the Andy Griffith Show. That's 35 actors that had a major impact on later series on television. And the Andy Griffith Show was their pathway to those other shows. Andy was the Pathmaker, but not just television shows. I've given you 35 actors that became successful in television shows. I want to give you 5 more actors who became successful in movies. Harry Dean Stanton, and I'm not going to name all of the movies for these people because it's too many to name. But Harry Dean Stanton, you've seen in a lot of movies. Lee Van Cleef, very famous movie star and television. I'm not saying that these people didn't make television shows as well, but they became more successful movies. Michael J. Pollard, who played Virgil, he was in quite a few movies. Terry Garr, who was in one episode of The Andy Griffith Show, also very famous in movies. And the main one, Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson made tons of movies, a major Hollywood mover and shaker. He did 2 episodes of The Andy Griffith Show. That's 40 actors who traveled the Mayberry path to stardom. And it's incredible the amount of talent that passed through Mayberry. Hey, do me a favor, like and subscribe to this channel. Please do. The more subscribers I get, the more content I can put on here. And I really, really appreciate your attention. Tell your friends. Tell your friends. Pass it around. Share these videos. If you want to know about Mayberry, this is the place to come. Subscribe and like, and I thank you.